Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.
Hello, this is a Hard Night. I'm Mary. I give a conservative take about the world around me. Alright, so feedback is greatly important. Feel free to reach out to me. So, audio platforms. I'm on Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, just to name a few. Alright, so this episode goes into it's a survey here, career survey, and then going to certain stories that I find interesting about the aspects of the sea. This time I want to focus in on the aspects of fear and murky, the unknown, scary, sort of, you can say that, but there's a lot of overtones about that. So I'm going to focus in on certain tales that go on the little darker, mystical side about the sea. Here we go. Alright, so in my thoughts, I'm going to just give an overall rundown and from what I think and what I've learned. So, overall, most of the stories that has to do with things that are terrifying or unexplained, they go into the aspects of, simply put, when things are out of control, when things are not understood, how do you deal with those aspects? And as I said, when there is something that is greatly that is really foundation to a way of life, there's going to be a lot of aspects that are surrounded with it, and aspects are folklore and entertainment and so to speak, stuff like that. Now, so much to the fact of religious undertones are greatly involved into stories that has to do with things that are unexplained or hard or terrifying or hard to deal with. So there's, and I'll go into depth about that and to wrap up in the later part of this show. So there is a creature that is known to the Judeo-Christian text that is so overpowering, and to the fact that God himself has to intervene in the aspects of taking control of it. And so this gives a great undertone of the aspects of, there's a lot of things that are beyond our control, and how is that thought about, looked upon, and the disposition of everything in life. So there's also well-known aspects, in folklore when it goes to the Kraken and everything else. So, there's a lot of tales about the Kraken. Is that this undefinable, this the terrifying beast, and so forth, takes a squid octopus sort of, morphing here shape, and then out of that it'll take you in its will. And so there's a lot of tales and moral undertones about the aspects of that, for the most part. Yes, ma'am. You're just eating right now. Why are you hungry still?
I feel hungry.
Hold on. Be right back, everybody. Come on, Piper. Sorry about that. Just get it right quick. Here, baby. Huh? Here, open that. You want orange too?
Yeah.
Okay. Be just a minute. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Alright, it's one of those sorries, not sorries. You gotta take care. I thought you said you could do it. You can? Alright, here. There you go. Okay. Let mama finish, okay? It's one of those things. You gotta do what you have to do and take care of your babies. Alright. So, it's one of those aspects of what do you actually do when you're faced with something that you don't quite understand, and how do you explain it? And so, images like and creatures like the Kraken really go back into the aspects of the undertones of other aspects and tales, like the Cyclops, like Goliath. Going back to the Cyclops and go to the Goliath. So Cyclops, again, there's a lot of tales about a Cyclops. There's imagery and what have you. Now, from a rational point of view, I'm just, lens looking out here, and our outward observer here. Maybe it was people that had that sort of look, I guess you can say, that resemblance, but in the aspects of not quite understanding it in the time and place that Cyclops were coming about. It was just that it wasn't understood widely about deformities, and so maybe that was the issue. And then going along with the aspects of David and Goliath, that story, that tale in Christian faith, maybe it was just simply that, I've said this before, the aspects of it was a person that was outside of, it was a anomaly. There's much taller people now in our society, but out of the norm of average height. And so this goes into the aspects of, excuse me, I'm sorry, trying to explain and then going into the reality situation, metaphorically speaking, somebody that is defiant towards you and is twice your size and relentless, how do you combat that in a graceful way, or how is that overtaken when you're just simply it's out of your control? And that's what's really, I think, a lot of overall things about these stories. Humbling yourself as a person and dealing with and combating those issues of knowing and understanding that there's just some things that you cannot explain, and there's just some things that are just way beyond your control. And how do you make sense of it all? And it's quite interesting when there's all around the world, there's an overall consensus of unique tales about these situations. So I think a really good example is, and that's probably what they were referring to. So in an instance, there's when you get in the depths of the ocean, swimming in the ocean or so forth, there is, to a lesser extent, something like a vortex or a whirlpool. And you have to be very, very careful when you see them, because if you're not careful, it can suck you down. And y'all that know who know. And now I swam in the ocean once before, but not to the extent to where I would know little things to look out for. And I like sea life. I love sea life, really, but there's always something new that to learn about it, because if you don't know, you don't know. So my husband explained this to me. So, and you gotta, it's a circular pattern. It does look like it's a black hole vortex, sort of, but it's just a whirl. It just whirls around in the ocean. And if you're not careful, you suck yourself into it. It's really hard to get out. And all you can simply do is just take control of yourself first, and that's easier said than done. Take a deep breath and just get in a disposition to where it doesn't suck you in completely until you can get out of it. So it suck you down and then once you can get out, just swim to safety. And so there is makes me think about this Japanese tale, honey, that has to do to a certain extent of an experience like that. And it's just really, also, it is a testament to the spirit of the creative mind. So when it is presented to be creative about, explaining things to the masses, how do you do so? And I think that's another aspect to consider when we talk about tales of the mystifying of the darker side of so forth. What is actually said about the moral overtone or the explaining of the unknown? Let's look at that too. Instead of, oh my gosh, the fright. In the fright night of it all. All right, with all this said, let's get in. I'm going to wrap up and get into the facts about these tales. Here we go. All right, and of course, sources will be provided for you. The ocean has long been a source of fear and fascination, giving a rise to numerous myths and legends about terrifying sea creatures. According to Greek mythology, Charybdis was once a nymph cursed by Zeus to become a massive vortex. And then, that too, extending on to the Japanese tale that I was talking about. So, swallowing seawater 3 times a day and creating whirlpools that have destroyed countless ships. Similarly, the Kraken, a legendary centipede-like creature from the Scandinavian folklore, is said to be capable of a dragging entire ships and sailors to their doom. So, sea monsters have been a part of human imagination for centuries, with accounts of encounters dating back to the 16th century. Sir Humphrey Gilbert claimed to have seen a lion-like monster with glaring eyes during his voyage in 1583. Another notable account comes from 1734, when Haynes Edgen described a terrifying creature that was later speculated to be a giant squid. It's okay, baby. I'm sorry, folks. Many of these sea monster legends may have been inspired by real creatures. For example, the giant squid, which can grow up to 8.62 meters in length, has been a source of inspiration for the Kraken and other sea beast legends. The deep sea is also home to bizarre and frightening creatures such as the angelfish, which uses a bioluminescent lure to attract prey, and the fang-toothed fish, known for its large, sharp teeth and menacing appearance. In addition to these real creatures, there are numerous mythical sea monsters from different cultures. The Nagin, a human-like creature from Japanese folklore, is said to spook shipmates by appearing above the surface. So the Serpent Crowan, a Scottish sea monster, what, sweetie, is also known for its ability to shrink to size of a fish before swallowing its prey whole. You want me to pick you up again? The fear of the unknown has played a significant role in the development of these sea monster myths. The deep sea, with its immense pressure and darkness, is still largely unexplored, and scientists estimate that 80% of the ocean remains in darkness. This vast, mysterious realm continues to inspire stories of terrifying creatures lurking beneath the waves. All right, so I'm going to go in to expand on to this. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So, Araba and Yupta. Although not publicized, there are many spooky characters in Turkish and Atlantic mythology. Araba and Yupta, who dwell in the Bay Tigris Sea, and defined as a mixture of dragon and crocodile. Araba is good and Yupta is evil. Yupta usually means the one who swallows people alive. Shamans wear the symbol of Yupta on their shoulders. The Van Gogh monster. Usual for a sea monster, the Lake Van monster is believed to live in the ocean, but Turkey's largest lake, Lake Van, descriptions of the creature vary. Most claim it resembles a snake or dinosaur-like animal, lurking in the depths of the lake and only surfacing on rare occasions. So, at one time, it was popular that there were reported sightings, especially in the 90s. It even led to the investigation, but of course, no trace was found. Yumibazu. Sea monsters are in every culture, yet Yumibaizu, or sea monk from Japanese and from Japan, is among the most unsettling. This spectacular giant is said to resemble the monk's shaven cap. So this is related to what I was talking about, the Japanese folklore. Lore is Yumibaizu, and then going extending out to Zeus and the whirlpools that happen in oceans. Okay, so appearing on the water surface is a massive shadow of a round head. According to legend, there is minimal prospect of survival when Yumibaizu surges up. The crew is sent to a watery fate when it tries to capsize the boat or demands a barrel to shatter. In addition, the very real dangers posed by rogue waves, massive erratic swells that can erupt out of nowhere and have been responsible for innumerable shipwrecks. Yumibaizu most likely evolved from to explain all of this, it revolves from mariners dreading the fear of the unknown. The Leviathan. So, the Leviathan is a huge sea monster that is both a heavenly and dreadful presence in Judeo-Christian literature. Frequently depicted as a snake or a fire-breathing dragon that could engulf entire fleets, the Leviathan was viewed as a representation of anarchy and devastation that could only be subdued by the divine. Stories about the Leviathan highlight how powerless humans are to control nature. We cannot defeat the fleet in might. Of course, the Kraken. So from 13th century forward, seamen have been frightened by the Kraken, one of the most notorious sea animals ever. When the Kraken first appeared in Norse mythology, it was portrayed as a huge squid-like monster. Although the Kraken has sparked decades of fear, scientists may actually been able to trace the source of origin. The stories were probably stoked by encounters with numerous squids. Videos of these squids swimming to the depth waters of Japan and New Zealand in recent years have shown that there are real and a bit maybe not the vindicated as their fabled cousin. So Sherpas and Scylla, so excuse me for the pronunciation. According to Greek mythology, Sherpas was once a nymph, and who was cursed by Zeus to transform into a huge ravenous vortex. So, according to Greek mythology, it is still one of the most recognizable sea monsters, even if she may have been an early explanation of dangerous tides. So, Zithus. According to Greek mythology, Poseidon unleashed the dreadful sea monster Zithus to wreak havoc along Ethiopia's coast. So King Siptus offered his daughter Andromeda as a sacrifice for Zithus in order to placate the enraged god, but out of this was spared. So Zithus was a constellation that bears its name, and is sometimes known as a giant sea serpent. So forgive me for the pronunciation again, the Aspaline, or let me bear with me. Let me get that right.
Aspidocalone.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Aspidocalone. The Aspidocalone. Now, this is quite new to me, but I've heard tales about it. So, Aspidocalone is cunning. It's a cunning creature, a huge fish or turtle that poses as an island in medieval European folklore. So before the Astropathite alone, which sank and pulled them and the ship down to the ocean's depths, unlucky sailors would dock on its back, build camp, and burn fires.
Mommy.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Mommy.
Frame horror proofs are much more spookier than, let me say that again. So frame horror proofs are much more spookier, aren't they? So despite not being a sea monster in the strictest sense, the Loch Ness Monster is well known worldwide. Though its existence has not been confirmed, stories of long necked dinosaur-like creatures hiding in Scotland's Yard, Loch Ness, has persisted there since the 30s. The Nagin, and I'm going to end on this. So, the Nagin is a humanoid sea monster that has recently gained popularity and attention, and is said to have been spotted in the Antarctic waters by Japanese research vessels. So the existence of the Nagin is surrounded in mystery and conjures, the mystifying witchery, what have you. There are, as described, as having pale human-like skin and growing into length into 20 to 30 meters. That's quite huge. You could say the terrifying version of mermaids. So the creature may be a kind of undefined large marine animal, according to some, while others claim it is a cryptid. The Nagin serves as a chilling reminder that the ocean continues to conceal mysteries from us. Yeah, because I'm going to end on this because there's so many things that are not been explored and are left to be explored. And, it's so dark and it's hard to say what's under there. And you just don't know. And that's very mystifying. And that's why it just goes with the territory that there's all these sordid tales that are connected with sea life. And that's quite fascinating. All right, so I'd like to know what you all think about these aspects of this episode. Feel free to reach out to me. This reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in. Definitely turn up. And always take care. Bye-bye for now.